there is a strange, quiet moment that almost no one prepares you for. It's the moment you realize that doing something truly meaningful, something that actually moves the needle of your soul, will almost always make you look foolish at first. Not later, not eventually, at the very beginning. You stumble over your words. You don't know what you're doing yet. You move slower than everyone else seems to. And in that friction, there's this quiet, venomous voice in your head asking a dangerous question. What if I look stupid? That question stops more lives than failure ever does. Most people aren't actually afraid of failing quietly in their basement where no one can see them. They are terrified of being seen failing. They are afraid of being the beginner, the awkward one, the person who clearly doesn't have it figured out yet. So, they wait. They wait until they feel ready, until they feel confident, until they feel like they can perform without the risk of embarrassment. But for most, that moment never comes because confidence is a result of action, not a prerequisite for it. The anatomy of this fear is deeply rooted in our DNA. Thousands of years ago, social rejection was a death sentence. If your tribe laughed at you, if they found you incompetent, you were cast out into the wilderness to face the wolves alone. Today, we no longer live in the wild, but our nervous systems haven't received the memo. When someone leaves a mocking comment on your video, or when you trip over your presentation in a meeting, your brain triggers the same fight or flight response it would for a physical predator. Your heart races, your palms sweat, and your ego screams at you to retreat to the safety of the shadows. But here is the uncomfortable truth. If something is actually worth doing, it will almost guarantee a period of intense embarrassment. You won't look impressive. You won't feel capable. You won't feel in control. And that isn't a flaw in the process. It is the process. Learning anything meaningful requires you to spend time being visibly inexperienced. The cost of entry for greatness isn't just hard work. It's the willingness to be laughed at. It is the tax on greatness. Think of the child learning to walk. They fall. They crawl. They look uncoordinated and messy. But we don't look at a falling toddler and think, how embarrassing. We see growth. Somewhere along the line of growing up, we lost that grace for ourselves. We started believing that we should be born with the finish line already in sight. We began to view our learning curve as a character flaw. But the problem is that most people confuse embarrassment with danger, because your mind reacts to social friction the same way it reacts to a threat. It says, avoid this. Protect your image. Stay in the lane where you are already competent. So instead of trying, they imagine. They imagine who they could have been, what they might have done, and how things could have turned out if they had just started earlier. In the short term, imagination feels safer than action. In your head, you are already a master. In your head, your business is thriving and your art is perfect. There is no friction in a daydream, but imagination is a seductive trap. It allows you to feel the dopamine of success without paying the tax of effort. It feels cozy. It feels perfect, but it is hollow. Because embarrassment is temporary. But regret is a permanent weight that grows heavier with every year you refuse to be a fool. There is a fundamental difference between doing something difficult and doing something meaningless. Difficult things. The things that change your tax bracket, your health, or your legacy embarrass you early. Meaningless things don't. Scrolling through social media for 6 hours doesn't make you look foolish. Watching others live their lives from the safety of your couch doesn't carry the risk of judgment. These meaningless things feel comfortable on day 1, but they leave you empty on day 1,000. This is why the rule of a well-lived life is simple. Even if it's painful, you should attempt things that are difficult enough to guarantee some early embarrassment, but important enough that long-term regret is unlikely. When you finally commit to that path, a miraculous shift occurs. At first, the embarrassment is sharp. It stings. But then, your nervous system adapts. You realize the wolves you feared were just shadows. Your skills improve, and slowly, your confidence begins to catch up to your effort. The embarrassment fades into the background as mastery takes its place. Regret, however, doesn't fade. It doesn't adapt. It stays. It shows up late at night, in the quiet gaps of your life, when the distractions are turned off. It whispers to you about the version 2.0 of yourself that was never born because you were too busy protecting the version 1.0 that you didn't even like. The worst part about regret is that it's almost always attached to the things you never even tried. We rarely regret the things we did that went poorly. We laugh at those stories later. We regret the things we didn't do because we were protecting an ego that didn't matter anyway. We let the fear of a 30-second awkward moment dictate a 30-year trajectory. Trying something difficult means you will ask questions you should already know. You will make mistakes in public. You will realize exactly how far you are from where you want to be. That is an honest place to be. It means you are no longer pretending. Most people spend their entire lives pretending to be further along than they are. They wear masks of competence to hide their insecurities. But the moment you accept the role of the foolish beginner, the mask comes off. You become dangerous because you can no longer be shamed. If something truly matters to you, if it connects to the person you want to become, you will work through that phase. Not because it feels good, but because it feels necessary. You will fail early. You will adjust. And you will learn what actually matters. You'll find that the people whose opinions you feared are usually too busy worrying about their own foolishness to notice yours. And the ones who do judge, they are almost always the ones who gave up on their own dreams long ago. Criticism is the tax that the small-minded levy against the brave. Even if the outcome isn't what you imagined, even if your business fails or your art doesn't find an audience, you will never regret going for it. Because regret isn't about outcomes. It's about avoidance. It's about knowing you let the fear of looking foolish make your decisions for you. Fear is a brilliant salesman. It convinces you to stay quiet, to stay hidden, and to stay comfortable. It tells you that later is a better time to start. But comfort becomes incredibly expensive over time. It's a debt you pay with your potential. You pay for it with the person you were meant to be. Look at the people you admire most. Whether they are icons in industry, masters of an art form, or leaders in their community. They didn't avoid embarrassment. They sought it out. They were willing to be the idiot in the room until they became the most knowledgeable person in the room. They were beginners for much longer than you ever saw. They made mistakes you never witnessed. They looked foolish long before they ever looked confident. They understood a secret that most people miss. Embarrassment is a fee, not a verdict. A verdict says, you are not good enough. A fee says, this is what it costs to get in. If you go to a movie, you don't get mad that you have to buy a ticket. You understand it's the price of the experience. Growth is the same. Looking stupid is simply the ticket price for becoming extraordinary. It doesn't mean you're bad at what you do. It just means you're early. It means you're in the arena while everyone else is still in the stands. So, look at the thing you keep circling. That project you've been researching for 3 years. That conversation you're avoiding. That change you know you need to make but fear the social fallout of. It feels heavy. It feels terrifying. But ask yourself one final honest question. Will I regret not trying this more than I'll regret looking foolish for a while? If the answer is yes, then the embarrassment is not a reason to stop. It is the green light to go. Once you accept that looking foolish is part of the cost, the fear loses its grip. It stops being a warning sign and starts being a signal. A signal that you are finally doing something that matters. A signal that you are treading on ground that most people are too afraid to walk on. The world belongs to those who are willing to be beginners. It belongs to those who can endure the awkwardness of the first draft, the clumsiness of the first workout, and the silence of the first attempt. Stop waiting for the moment you'll feel ready. You will never feel ready to be embarrassed, but you can be brave enough to do it anyway. Pay the fee. Accept the awkwardness. Embrace the foolishness. Start before you are good enough, and let the world see you grow. Because a few years from now, the only thing you'll truly be embarrassed about is how much time you wasted trying to look like you knew what you were doing. The gate is open. The fee is your ego. Step through.